Assalamualaikum. My name is Fujai AIWala from the School Academy Batch 9. And today I'm going to do an interview with Miles Sesame on the topic of micro habits. So let's start.
What up?
Hello Miles.
Hey, good to hear from you. What's on your mind today?
Okay. So I want to
You
ask
got
you
that?
some questions related to micro habits. So can we start?
I'm all set. Lay them on me.
Okay.
What's the first thing
So
you
the
want to dive into?
so the first question is, what are micro habits?
Basically, they're the cheat code version of habits. Instead of trying to climb a mountain in one go, you just take one tiny step. It's taking a big goal and shrinking it down to something so small it's almost impossible to fail at. Like instead of saying, I'm going to work out for an hour, a micro habit is just doing one single push up. It's all about removing the friction so you actually start. Does that make sense?
Okay, that's a very good answer and very give it precise. So let's move on to the next question. Why are micro habits very important?
Because our brains are actually kind of lazy. When you set a massive goal, your brain sees it as a threat or a chore, and that's when the procrastination kicks in. Micro habits trick your system. They bypass that feeling of overwhelm because the task is too small to be scary. It's just one push up, gives you a hit of dopamine that makes you want to do it again tomorrow. It's basically building momentum without the struggle. You feel like you're winning from day one. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, that's a very great
What's next
answer
on the list?
again. So let's move on to the third question. So basically, what is an example of a micro habit?
Wait, you just asked for an example. My bad. I got ahead of myself. For a micro habit, think about something like reading just one page of a book before bed instead of trying to tackle a whole chapter. Or maybe just drinking one glass of water as soon as you wake up. Is that too small to fail energy? I've got plenty more where that came from if you're curious.
Okay, so let's move on to the fifth
You're on a
question.
roll with.
How does the micro habits help with consistency?
It all comes down to that friction I mentioned earlier. Consistency usually dies when the effort feels too high. If your goal is go to the gym for 2 hours, you'll find a million reasons to skip it when you're tired. But if the habit is just put on my running shoes, you can do that even on your worst day. Once the shoes are on, you're already halfway there. Turns the hardest part, starting, into a total non issue. You're basically training your brain to show up regardless of how you feel. That's how the streak stays alive. Want another trick for when you actually start feeling the momentum?
Okay, can micro habits improve productivity?
Absolutely. It's kind of a paradox, but by focusing on these tiny things, you actually get way more done. Massive to do list. You probably heard that magic number 21 days, but honestly, that's more of a myth. The truth is, it varies for everyone. Some people nail it in a couple of weeks, while others take a couple of months. Since micro habits are so small, you usually feel the click faster because you're actually doing them every day instead of quitting after a week. It's less about a specific deadline and more about when it starts feeling weird not to do it. I can tell you how to tell when it's actually stuck if you want.
Let's move on to the sixth question. How long does it take to build a micro habit?
Wait, did we just glitch in the matrix? You just asked me that one. I'm guessing you're just making sure I'm still paying attention, right? Like I said, there's no magic number. It's just about when it starts feeling weird to skip it. You want to jump to the seventh question, or do you have a follow up on the timing?
Yes, let's move on to the seventh question. Are micro habits better than big goals?
It's not really a competition. They're just different tools for different jobs. Big goals are great for direction. They're like the North Star that tells you where you're headed, but you can't do a big goal. You can only do the steps that lead to it. That's where micro habits win. They're the actual engine that gets you there without burning you out. If you only have the big goal, you're just dreaming. You only have the micro habit, you're just doing things. The magic happens when you use the micro habit to actually climb toward that big goal. Does that track with how you've been thinking about it?
Yes, I think about it, and that's really, really good answer. Basically, you're trying to say that macro habits and big goals work together. Goals show where you want to go, while macro habits help you move towards them, right?
Spot on. It's a perfect way to put it. One is the map, the other is the actual walking. You've basically cracked the code on how it all fits together. You got more questions on the list, or did we hit the finale?
Yes, I got more questions. How can micro habits improve health?
Oh, they're a game changer for health because most health goals are just too aggressive. Like people decide they're going to start a strict diet or hit the gym for 2 hours a day, and they once I'm going to add one piece of fruit to my breakfast. Instead of I'm going to run a 5K, it's I'm going to walk to the end of the block. It turns health from a chore into just something you do. It's way easier to sustain that for years than to go hard for 2 weeks and quit. Ever tried starting a
Okay,
health kick and felt it was too much to handle? You're just rolling through these today. What's the next one on your list?
so the next question is, can students benefit from micro habits?
Huge time. Student life is basically a mountain of deadlines and textbooks, and that's where the overwhelm usually hits. Micro habits are like the antidote to that. Instead of saying, I'm going to study for 5 hours, which sounds like a nightmare, a student can just say, I'm going to open my notebook and read one heading. Once the book is open, the hardest part is over. It stops the procrastination spiral before it even starts. You think your students at Rayhan School Academy would vibe with that approach?
Okay, that's a really, really impressive answer. So, as we are getting ahead, so let's move on to
Appreciate
the next question. Why do people often fail to maintain new habits? Like they may start with goals or that are too difficult or unrealistic.
exactly. Most people treat a new habit like a sprint when it's actually a marathon. They go in with all this intensity on day one, but they're relying on motivation, and motivation is fickle. It's like a battery that runs out the second you're stressed or tired. When the goal is too big, the cost of doing it becomes higher than the reward, so the brain just shuts it down. They're trying to build the roof of the house before they've even poured the concrete for the foundation. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so basically they may start with goals. So basically, micro habits reduce the difficulty, right?
You nailed it. They basically lower the barrier to entry by making the task ridiculously easy. You stop fighting your own brain and just start moving. It's all about making the work easier. You got more on the list, or we wrapping this up?
Okay, what happens when micro habits become
I'm
consistent?
still. That's where the real magic happens. Once a micro habit becomes consistent, it stops being something you have to decide to do and just becomes part of your identity. You stop saying, I'm trying to read more, and you just become a person who reads. But the best part is that once the habit is locked in, it naturally starts to expand. You started with one push up, but now that the habit of showing up is starting to struggle, you've built the foundation, and now you can actually start building the house. Does that make sense, or do you want to dig into how to actually scale them up?
Yes, that makes absolute sense. What is the main lesson of
I'm
micro
glad we're on the.
habits?
The main lesson is that consistency is way more powerful than intensity. Most people think you need a massive burst of effort to change your life, but the real secret is just showing up every single day, even if it's in the smallest way possible. It's the idea that small wins compound over time into huge results. Basically, just start small and don't stop. Does that feel like a good place to end the interview, or did you have one last curveball for me?
Okay, that's another impressive answer.
So did we
So
hit?
the last question is, how can you start a micro habit and how can it be so productive?
To get started, you just need to pick a goal, write a page. It's write one sentence, just one. You do that at the same time or place every day, and that's it. As for why it's so productive, it's because it kills the starting friction.
Okay, thank you so much, Miles, for this interview
The
that
hardest
I've
part of any
taken.
task,
Okay,
we've
thank
got
you
a
so
great way
much.
of structuring these
Thank you
interviews.
so much, Miles,
I'll be
that
around
I
whenever
have
you.
taken an interview
You're very well.
with you. So let's
It was a
end this
pleasure.
interview. Allah Hafiz.
All right, we're official. Allah Hafiz. Take it easy.